So you finally saw through the smoke and mirrors, didn't you? The illusion of a perfectly curated facade. It all came crashing down the moment you spotted their fakeness. Oh, how that must have stung their precious ego. To be unmasked, exposed, left. I am vulnerable to the harsh light of truth. It's the narcissist's worst nightmare, isn't it? They built their world on lies, on carefully constructed stories designed to make them look like heroes, victims, or gods. And you were supposed to play your role, to nod and applaud the script and never question it. But you didn't. You know you tore through their little play like a storm, ripping apart the curtains to reveal the hollow stage. Behind now, they are mad, furious, even not because you wronged them, no, but because you dared to see them for what they truly. You broke the spell they cast over everyone else, and worse still, you walked away untouched and unscathed. Oh, the audacity of it all! Their ego, that fragile little beast, is screaming in agony. It's clawing at the walls, trying to rebuild them. The narrative you shattered is spinning. New stories creating new lies, desperate to regain control. But deep down they know the truth. They've been exposed, and there's no coming back from that. You see, narcissists thrive on the illusion of perfection. They need to believe, and they need others to believe, that they're untouchable. But you didn't just touch their ego, you shattered it. You showed them that their power, their control, was nothing more than an illusion. And now they're left scrambling to pick up the pieces. Oh, they'll lash out, of course. They'll try to paint you as the villain, to turn others against you. It's the only move. They have left the only way to salvage their pride. But it won't work, because now the cracks in their mask are visible to everyone, and no amount of lies can hide them. They'll feel that the sting of rejection, the burn of humiliation. They'll replay every moment in their minds, wondering how they lost control, of how they let you slip through their fingers, and the answer will haunt them. They underestimated you. They thought you were just another pawn in their game, but you were the queen. The one piece they couldn't. Modifying their anger isn't just about losing control, it's about losing you. Because whether they'll admit it or not, they needed you. You were their mirror, the one who reflected back the version of themselves they wanted to see, and now that mirror is gone, shattered by the weight of their own lies. They'll try to replace you, of course, try to find someone new to fill the void you left behind. But it won't work, because no one else will ever see them the way you did. No one else will ever challenge them the way you did. And that's the real tragedy for them, isn't it? They didn't just lose you. They lost the fantasy they built around. You'll stew in your own bitterness, drowning in the venom of their own, making every time they think of you. They'll feel that sting of regret, that a shake of loss, and the worst part, they'll know it was their own fault. They'll know that they could have had something real, something true, but they chose the lie. Instead, their ego, once so inflated, will deflate like a punctured balloon, and as it does, they'll be forced to confront the emptiness inside. They'll see themselves for what they truly are: not the hero, not the victim, but the architect of their own misery. And you'll be free from their games, their manipulation, their chaos. You'll be living your truth, unbothered by their bitterness, untouched by their lies. And as you rise, they'll be left in the shadows watching, seething. Regrettably, their anger will consume them. But it won't touch you, because you've already won by walking away, by breaking their spell. You've taken back your power, and that's something they'll never be able to forgive. Oh, they'll try to rewrite the story to make themselves the hero once again. But it won't matter, because the truth is out, and there's no erasing it. They'll be stuck in their own web, tangled in the lies they wove while you soar over it. All this is their reckoning. It is their moment of truth. And it's not pretty. Is it to see themselves stripped of their illusions, to face the reality they tried so hard to avoid? It's a pain they'll carry with them, a reminder of what they lost and what they'll never have again. So let them be mad, let them stew in their own bitterness, because their anger is just a mask for their pain, their regret, their fear. They'll try to hide it so they pretend they're fine, but you and I both know that honestly, they're not fine. They're far away. Their rage is a wild storm and untamed, but it only rages within them. Oh, how they fume, stomping in circles of their own making, unable to lash out at the one person they truly wish to blame. You've slipped from their grasp like sand through clenched fists, and it drives them madder than they'd ever admit to see you out of reach. US scathed, thriving. It's the ultimate insult to their ego. Each night, their thoughts betray them, circling back to you like moths to a flame. They can try to extinguish the memory, to bury it deep, but it resurfaces with vengeance. A mirror reflects their own failure. They told themselves they were in control, didn't they? But now they see how easily you broke free, how their game's manipulation amounted to nothing in the end. Their fury is their prison. Every time they curse your name, they chain themselves tighter to the bitterness they've birthed. They can't move, not truly, because you've become the ghost that haunts their every thought. And the irony, it's not you who lingers, it's the version of themselves they revealed to you, the one you saw through, the one they can no longer deny. They'll lash out at others, of course, trying to redirect the blame, but even in their most venomous moments, they'll feel the hollow of their words, because deep down they know it wasn't you broke things. It was them, their games, their lies, their manipulations. It all crumbled under the weight of your truth, and that truth burns brighter than any of their excuses. Oh, they'll try to rebuild too, find someone new to play their twisted games with, but every attempt will feel hollow. Every connection is shallow, because they've tasted something real with you, and now they're left with imitations. They'll search and search, but they'll never find another you, and that knowledge will gnaw at them, eating away at their pride. Their anger is a mask, a desperate attempt to hide the regret beneath it. They'll never admit it, of course not to you, not to themselves, but it's there, lurking in the corners of their mind. Every time they think of you, it whispers, reminding them of what they had and lost, and that whisper will grow louder, more persistent, until it's all they can hear. They'll put on a brave face, acting as if they're unbothered, but you'll see it, won't you? The cracks in their armor, the moments when their facades they'll stumble over, their words, their smiles will falter, and in those brief moments you'll see them. Honestly, they're not fine. They're far away. If they thought they'd broken you, but instead they made you into something unbreakable, and now they're the ones left shattered, and to piece together the remnants of their pride. It's almost poetic, isn't it? The way the tables turned, the way their own games backfired. You became their reckoning, and they never saw it coming. Every time they see you thriving, it'll be a dagger to their pride. They'll try to downplay it, to act as if it doesn't bother them, but you'll see the flicker of jealousy, the flash of regret, because they can't deny it. You rise above them, and they're left wallowing in the mess they made. They'll drown in their own bitterness, consumed by the very anger they tried to project onto you, and as they sink deeper, they'll realize too late that their anger is their own, undoing what they thought they could control. You manipulate you, but all they did was drive you further away, and now they're left with nothing but their own reflection to torment them. How they'll hate you for your freedom, for your resilience. They'll hate you for showing them what they could never be, and that hatred is just another form of admiration, twisted and bitter, because deep down they know that truthfully they were never your equal. You were always a step ahead, always out of there. Their ego is in ruins, crumbling under the weight of their own lies, and as they try to rebuild it, they'll find that's no longer enough because you've changed the game, rewritten the rules. You've shown them that they can't win, not against someone as strong, as unyielding as you'll try to rewrite the story to paint themselves as the victim, but their lies will ring hollow even to their own ears because they can't escape the truth. They're the ones who lost. They're the ones who let you slip away, and no amount of storytelling can change that. Their fury will burn hot, but it will only consume them every time they try to lash out. They'll find themselves striking at shadows because you're untouchable now, beyond their reach, and that more than anything is what drives them mad, to know that they can't hurt you anymore, that you've risen above their games. It's a wound to their pride, will never recover from. Their downfall was inevitable, really, because you can only play the game for so long before it turns against you, and now they're left with nothing but the ruins of their own making. Meanwhile, you're free to live, thrive, to be unapologetically you, and that freedom, it's the one thing they'll never have. Let them stew their anger, their bitterness. Let them try to rebuild what they destroyed it, because no matter how hard they try, they'll never erase the truth you saw through them. And you walked away, and in doing so you claimed a victory they'll never understand. Their rage is a testament to your strength, your resilience. It's proof that you've won, that you've risen above their games, and as they drown in their own bitterness, you'll soar higher, untouchable, unstoppable, because you didn't just survive their attempts to break you, you thrived in spite of them. And that, my friend, is the ultimate revenge for their downfall was inevitable, really, because you can only live in a lie for so long before it crumbles, and now they're left to pick up the pieces, to face the mess they made, and you're free to live your life unbothered, unstoppable, and unapologetically. You so let them see, let them rage. Their anger is their own undoing, their own punishment, and you are a reminder they'll never escape the lesson. They'll never forget you didn't just break their ego, you broke their illusion. And that's a power they'll never be able to take away from you. In the labyrinth of human relationships, few realizations are as striking as the moment you pierce through the veil of illusion, exposing the grand facade of a narcissist. It's a revelation that shakes the very foundation of that curated reality, leaving them vulnerable and raw under the unrelenting light of truth. This is the story of unmasking, of breaking free from the grip of manipulation and reclaiming the power that was always yours. The moment you saw through their smoke and mirrors was like a lightning bolt splitting the night sky. You uncovered the lies, the carefully constructed stories that painted them as heroes, victims, or even demigods. Their entire world, meticulously built on illusions, began to crumble. And oh, how it must have stunned their fragile ego to be stripped bare, exposed for what they truly are. To a narcissist, this is the ultimate nightmare. Their kingdom of deception depends on others, on you, playing along, nodding, applauding, and never questioning the narrative. But you did. You tore through the carefully scripted play, a storm that ripped apart the stage and revealed the hollow framework beneath. Their fury now burns hot, not because you wronged them, but because you dared to see the truth. You shattered the spell they cast over everyone else, and worst of all, you walked away untouched. The audacity of it. Their ego, that fragile beast, writhes in agony. It claws desperately to rebuild the narrative you destroyed, spinning new lies in a futile attempt to regain control. But deep down, they know the truth. They've been exposed, and there's no going back. For a narcissist, thriving on the illusion of perfection, this is an unbearable defeat. You didn't just touch their ego, you annihilated it. You revealed that their power was an illusion, and now they're left scrambling, desperate to piece together their shattered facade. In their panic, they lash out. Their anger becomes a weapon, a twisted attempt to paint you as the villain, to turn others against you. But it won't work. The cracks in their mask are now visible for all to see, and no amount of lies can hide them. The sting of rejection, the burn of humiliation, these are their new companions. They'll replay every moment, every misstep, wondering how they lost control, how they let you slip through their grasp. And the answer will haunt them. They underestimated you. They thought you were a pawn in their game. But you were the queen, the one piece they couldn't control. Their rage is not just about losing power, it's about losing you. Whether they admit it or not, they needed you. You were their mirror, reflecting back the version of themselves they wanted to see. And now, that mirror is gone, shattered by the weight of their own lies. They'll try to replace you, to find someone new to fill the void, but it won't work. No one else will challenge them the way you did, and that's the real tragedy for them. They didn't just lose you, they lost the fantasy they built around you. Now, every time they think of you, they'll feel the sting of regret, the ache of loss, and they'll know, deep down, that it was their own fault. Their once inflated ego deflates like a punctured balloon, leaving behind an emptiness they can no longer ignore. They'll see themselves for what they truly are, not the hero, not the victim, but the architect of their own misery. Meanwhile, you were free from their games, their manipulation, their chaos. You were living your truth, unbothered by their bitterness, untouched by their lies. And as you rise, they'll be left in the shadows, consumed by their own anger and regret. Their rage will become a prison, chaining them tighter with every curse they mutter under their breath. It's not you who haunts them, but the version of themselves they reveal to you, the one they can no longer deny. Oh, they'll try to move on, to rebuild their illusion with someone new, but every attempt will feel hollow, every connection shallow. They've tasted something real with you, and now they're left with imitations. The knowledge of what they lost will gnaw at them, eating away at their pride. Their anger, their desperate attempts to rewrite the story, will never erase the truth. You saw through them. You walked away, and in doing so, you claimed a victory they will never understand. As they stew in their bitterness, you saw, untouchable, unstoppable. Their games, their manipulation, were meant to break you, but instead, they forged something unbreakable. The tables have turned, and the very anger they project is proof of your strength, your resilience. Their downfall was inevitable, because lies can only sustain a person for so long before crumbling under the weight of truth. Now, they're left with nothing but the ruins of their own making, while you thrive, unapologetically free. Let them rage, let them stew. Their anger is their undoing, and your freedom is the ultimate revenge.